Snow is on the way, and a winter weather advisory has been issued for all of southeast Michigan. Detroit's most comprehensive forecast is just moments away. Stay with us.
Also breaking news here at 4, a new response from President Biden to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What he's saying is still off the table in this conflict. And here's Paula.
Voices from the Ukraine trapped behind the battle lines and the sheer terror of their friends right here in Metro Detroit. We're covering this story on both sides of the Atlantic.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
First at 4, we're tracking the largest military action in Europe since World War II. President Biden has just responded to this full-scale attack on Ukraine that began about 18 hours ago. This video shows huge explosions seen before dawn from several cities in Ukraine. Late today, a presidential advisor says Ukraine has lost control now of the infamous Chernobyl nuclear site. Russia had the country surrounded with more than 150,000 troops. Here's video of tanks and armored vehicles rolling into Ukraine from Belarus. The Ukrainian president has imposed martial law and is calling on people to join the country's defense forces. While many Ukrainians vow to fight for their country, others want to get themselves and their families to safety. Here, just look at the long lines of cars trying to get out of the capital city. Others have been lining up at ATMs to get cash or flocking to grocery stores to stock up on food. World leaders are condemning this full-scale war against a democratic country. The chief of the NATO alliance says the, quote, brutal act of war has shattered peace in Europe. Kimberly Gill joins our coverage with what President Biden is now doing. Kim?
Yeah, you're right, Jason. Good afternoon. The president has made it clear U.S. and NATO troops will not become involved in the war in Ukraine, but they are slapping Russia with deep new sanctions. The president says they will limit Russia's ability to be part of the global economy.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
The president announced new sanctions hitting 4 more of Russia's largest banks and freezing their assets in the United States. But Russia has not been kicked out of the SWIFT payment system, which allows transfers of money from bank to bank. It seems some European allies are reluctant to take that step. In Ukraine, we're told the Russian attacks are targeting military sites, but now troops might start heading toward major cities. Details on casualties are hard to confirm, but Ukraine's health minister says 57 Ukrainians have been killed, with about 169 injured. President Biden says the U.S. response brings challenges, but it must be done.
I know this is hard and that Americans are already hurting. I will do everything in my power to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me. But this aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are.
And President Biden is also sending more troops to Germany to bolster NATO allies. The president made it very clear any attack on NATO members would not be tolerated, drawing that line somewhat in the sand there. Tomorrow, 30 nations will hold a summit to coordinate a worldwide response, but the president would not comment on his outreach to China about joining that effort. Jason, that's it for now. We'll send it back to you, but certainly we'll have more in later editions of Local 4 News.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kim, thanks.
Sure thing.
We're also getting a very personal look at what it's like to be in Ukraine right now as Russian forces continue that assault. For weeks, Paula Tutman has been talking to people who have connections to Michigan. Paula, obviously today things much scarier for them.
So, Jason, I want to tell you about something I just found out. We've been telling you about the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. They have just activated, and so they're now collecting money for humanitarian needs for all of these refugees, basically refugees who will now be crossing the border, because there are so many people in this community, in our immediate neighborhoods, who actually have family members fighting on the front. Natalia Gusak was in a deep sleep when this morning a series of bombings became her alarm clock in Kiev. She raced to the hospital to get to her son, who's battling COVID. There she seeks shelter. She courageously joined me this morning, 9 o'clock Detroit time, 4 o'clock Kiev time.
The first explosions I heard, it was around 4 6:30 a.m. and it was 3, and then the fourth one was later.
Her voice shakes as she shows us outside the hospital window on what should be a sunny day.
Yeah, it's around 4 p.m. and it shouldn't be so dark right now. It's a smoke due to explosions in Kyiv and around Kyiv. We are expecting the new one in the evening and at night.
She was in Detroit at Wayne State University just 3 weeks ago as a Fulbright scholar. Today she huddles in a hospital room, trapped.
I would like people to know that we are in danger and all the Europe is in danger, and they do not react as we are expected for. Because, you know, this only small sanctions, it's not enough. They will never stop.
Where in the world is the world? That's what Yulia Didenko wants to know as she scurries from a cave and tries to coordinate with her husband to find shelter. She was headed to a nearby train station, but was diverted when she got word the Russian army would likely try to choke off city centers by targeting transportation hubs.
Бої йдуть в Ірпені, Ірпінь, місто.
It wasn't that long ago Yulia was in Detroit. She wanted to document the rise of a fallen city in a film to show communities in Ukraine how to rebuild and revitalize. Here is her Ukraine today, and she runs for her life. You don't need to speak Ukrainian to understand.
Летять в південно-західному напрямку.
But in case there was any doubt, her friend, Dr. Olena Danyuk of Wayne State University, translates.
He's running into shelter right now, right away, because there is a signal that our train stations will be bombed in any second, any minute.
So the crisis response team I was just talking to you about is also putting together, or has put together, a rally and protest. So I'm at St. Josephat Ukrainian Catholic Church. It's off of Ryan, just south of 11 Mile Road. You can hear them testing the system at 5 o'clock. There will be a rally and a protest. Let me throw it back to you for now. We'll be here, by the way, to cover that live. Jason?
All right, Paula, we appreciate it. A lot of scary pieces of video coming out of there right now, we know. All right. The world's financial markets are reacting, including the Dow Jones, and you can see it's up 92 points right now. Consider that a huge win. Earlier in the day, it was down hundreds of points. We'll see if that holds when the markets close. And there are many economic impacts to all of this. Oil prices are on the rise. Russia is the world's third largest producer of oil. Food prices could go up, with Ukraine being one of the biggest exporters of wheat. Business editor Rod Maloney joins us live at 5 to talk about the financial ripple effects overall. Also at 5, Paula's back, and we'll have the story of a family in Ukraine trying to get somewhere safe, but there is no place to go. Then at 6, Rod will come back to focus on those gas prices and what we might see at the pump. You can also get a full breakdown of the new sanctions at clickondetroit.com, where we're also streaming network coverage from NBC around the clock. Now, a big story here at home, a winter weather advisory going into effect in just a few hours. Paul's watching the radar as all of this snow is headed our way. Paul, what are we in for?
Is going to be going into effect, and it will be in effect all night long until 8 o'clock on Friday morning. Covers the entire area. So there's nothing really locally showing up on Storm Tracker 4, but here you see the initial salvo, if you will, with this moisture streaming our way. I have the motion on here so you can see the movement just like this. Those of you that have our free local forecasters app, watch the real-time radar. You'll see a lot of this start to fill in overnight. So this is not just going to be this one little batch here. Let me show it to you on the computer model. So here we are dry right now. We've saved the Thursday afternoon rush hour, but notice that by early evening, we're already seeing that snow moving into the area, all the way across the entire area by late evening and continuing most of the night before ending by about 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm still looking at about a 2 to 4 inch snowfall amount, probably an average of about 3 across the area. We're going to break that down for you in our 4-zone forecast, neighborhood by neighborhood, coming up in about 10 minutes. But right now, if you are heading outside, temperatures are in the 20s with wind chills in the teens. Again, I'll be back with the rest of the forecast in just a few minutes, Jason.
We'll be here, Paul. It's been a long day of testimony in the case against the parents of the teenager accused in the Oxford High School shooting. James and Jennifer Crumbly are charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection to the shooting there. New video played in court shows Ethan Crumbly and his mother at a gun store weeks before what happened at Oxford. Prosecutors argue his parents provided the gun that he used and failed to help their troubled son. Today, we heard a text exchange between Ethan and a friend from last April.
He says, I actually asked my dad to take to the doctor yesterday, but he just gave me some pills and told me to quote unquote suck it up.
Yes, sir.
Then he wrote, like it's at the point that I'm asking to go to the doctor. You remember seeing that?
Yes, sir.
And then seeing, my mom laughed when I told her.
Yes, sir.
And in that same conversation, Ethan's describing a, quote, in his words, quote unquote, breakdown to his friend. Is that right?
Yes, sir. The defense argues the Crumbleys did not know how troubled their son was. This hearing is to determine if there's enough evidence to go to trial. We'll obviously have more on this at 5 and 6. Detroit beat out 50 other cities to bring a big new employer and hundreds of jobs downtown. Mayor Mike Duggan joined by leaders of Majoral to make the move official today. That company has nearly 70,000 employees in 35 countries. It's a leading provider of customer experience solutions. The company will hire 200 people to start and will grow to more than 500 at their soon-to-be announced location in downtown Detroit. We posted information about a job fair that runs through Sunday for jobs that start at $17 an hour.